In this video, I'm gonna be interviewing Parviz Tuksanov. But the main purpose of this video is not gonna be interviewing him. It's gonna be revenge. Now I'm gonna explain why it's gonna be revenge. My first video on this channel was with him, and we arm wrestled, and I lost because I used 50% of my strength. Yeah, that's why I'm gonna revenge. If you wanna know who won, stay until the end. At first, I did train my forearms, and then I thought to myself, I don't need to train my arms because I'm sure I'll win. Today, we're in the presence of first ever Uzbek who got the maximum score from SAT, which is 1600, and who has 8.5 from IELTS, founder of Pinnacle School. He's also a gym rat, and we also got Parvis.
You got me, yes.
I'm gonna just interview Parviz Tuksanov today. All right. So before we start, can you please tell a little about yourself?
Okay, just like you said, the one who got 1600. Well, it's controversial whether I got it first or not in Uzbekistan, but generally I got that 1600 within the same exam, one exam I mean, and I've got 8.5. Currently doing SAT teaching full time. I teach kids SAT and help them get into their dream schools by waiving one of the essential college admission requirements, just like SAT and IELTS. So that's all about me. And just like you said, I'm doing gym regularly, sometimes
Regularly?
more, yeah,
Okay.
more than regularly at times. Like I would say twice a day at times. It gets that crazy. Yeah. So
All
I
right.
think I do deserve the title.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, questions about SAT. What's the weirdest thing you did while preparing for the SAT?
The weirdest thing I did while preparing for the SAT was I would talk about something unique I did, something that most SAT students don't do. I used to read articles and write essays based on articles, summaries of those articles. I used to read on Science Daily, Guardian. I used to read about a wide range of topics like evolution, child development, history, and used to write short, brief, 2-3 paragraph long summaries, synopsises of these basically articles. And I don't think most students these days do that. They might be reading articles, but rarely they get a pen and put it down.
That's actually that's actually what I do in my writing classes. Before writing classes, I send article to my students to read, and based on that article, I tell ChatGPT to create task two topic.
Task it up so that then
Yes,
they can practice,
which proved
right?
to be quite useful. Yeah.
And the main reason I did that was not because of improving my writing, grammar, stuff like that, but it was because of forcing my brain to retain information that I'm reading. Because if you just read, you might be reading 10, 15 pages of a book and then stop and you can't even remember the last page, the last two lines that you read, right? Because your brain knows that you're not going to be doing a test, you're not going to be doing any comprehension drill based on what you've read. But if you tell yourself that you will be writing a short story or a short essay based on what you've read, your brain is going to be trying to encapsulate, trying to retain almost everything that you read. So that was the reason I used to force myself, force my brain to read more attentively.
Right. So, if your SAT journey were a movie, what would its title be?
If my SAT journey would be a movie, I would say it would be Impossible is Possible.
Or Mission Impossible?
Yeah, maybe. Because the reason is, back then, when I first took the SAT as a student, 1500 itself used to sound crazy from the first attempt. Like I was good enough in my group, and one of the mentors I had, online mentors I had, he used to say this: "You're good enough, but 1500 is something rare. So you're good, but not sure if you can get 1500." But anyway, I was just blind and deaf to all those comments and truly believe that I can do that. And in my first attempt, I got a crazy, for that time, 1560, which turned around almost everyone's perception of the SAT. They realized that 1500 is truly possible from the first attempt. Because back in the day, even smart genius guys used to get 1500 in their third, fourth, sometimes even fifth attempts. Well, I did it in my first, and it just turned around people's opinion of the SAT, and they challenged the idea that it's impossible to get 1500 from the first attempt.
Okay.
And also about the later 1600, which felt like equally impossible, because if you make a single mistake, that's it, you might kiss goodbye to that 1600 at times. But then I truly felt myself this time that it was impossible to get 1600, because I jumped from 1540 to 1600 within 3 months. I believe that I will get something 1590, even if I didn't have any questions that I was doubting about. I felt like that number 1600 itself is something crazy, unbelievable. So yeah, impossible is possible.
How did you feel after receiving that score, after achieving that score?
Well,
And did you do something, anything to celebrate?
okay, so that day was December 20th, I do remember it. And the morning, I texted my students who took the exam with me on the same day saying that don't wait for the results, don't check your emails, your accounts. Every now and then, the results are going to be out late in 4 p.m. afternoon. I just said it. I myself didn't follow this rule because I felt like something big is coming. I used to check basically my college board account. It's the website platform where your results get announced twice or three times an hour, so like 15 times. And while I was at work in the afternoon, some old students, alumni came to see their results, to check their results together. And one guy in the corridor just screamed. I felt like it was the result out and he saw his result. So I silently, while teaching the class, while I was talking, teaching the reading session, I silently went into the college board and saw like 1600. My reaction was not like screaming, shouting, jumping. I just looked at students and said, it's 1600. With no emotions. And one of the ladies back in the basically room jumped out and she didn't believe that. And in a second she was next to me looking at my laptop. I didn't even basically manage to connect my laptop to the TV so that everyone can see. She couldn't wait those 3 seconds, 3 seconds that it takes the TV to be connected to the laptop. So yeah, I was 1600. And then when it comes to celebrating,
And
I
like,
did.
what did you feel?
Well,
Happy or
I
nothing?
felt like hard work pays off.
Uh-huh.
I don't know like what emotion it is. It's really tough to put it into words. I felt like hard work really pays off, and nothing quite is impossible. But the thing is, since I was expecting something high, like at least 1580, 1590, and in the corner of my head that 1600 was also there, but I was just too afraid of the reactions to say that, like, what are you getting? What are your expectations? If someone says, what are your expectations in the IELTS, and you say 9, they will probably think that you are arrogant, right? But I think the same with the SAT. Imagine I took the exam and students are just saying, what do you think you're getting, teacher? I say 1600. That would sound like a fluff. But that's why I was never saying that. I was saying 1580, 1590. I was not that of surprised, but I felt genuinely happy that hard work paid off, because sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people work really hard. Sometimes they do all what it takes to get a good score, but there is also an element of luck. We can't literally deny it. Sometimes you deserve higher, but you get something slightly low. So I think that was a combination of luck, hard work, and basically belief, I would say. So yeah, but it's not only luck. I would say hard work and luck, because hard work is something that is required to capture that luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you can get lucky, but if you didn't have the right platform, right foundation to catch it, to build it on, I would say you just miss it. So yeah,
Our celebration.
celebration. I did celebrate it with my family and friends after the results were out. Like in Uzbek culture, we have some,
Friends.
yeah,
I wasn't there.
yeah, you weren't there, sorry.
Okay.
So mainly family. I just
Uh-huh.
say family and friends because it's a
Okay.
unique
All right. Sure.
together phrase that we
Uh-huh.
use together. So with family, like in Uzbek culture, we have something like if you achieve something really high or do something, you gotta pay it off to your relatives, to your friends. You gotta share the good news over the dinner, over the lunch. So yeah, I had a dinner with my family, nice dinner where all the extended family members came together and celebrated that. They joined my happy moment, and I'm thankful for that. So yeah, that was like a celebration, typical Uzbek celebration. It goes a bit unhealthy, like with people staying up late, over basically indulging, binge eating. I would say, yeah, that's a typical way we celebrate.
All right. All right. All right. Sure. We're gonna continue our interview later. For now, our food is getting cold, and
Yeah,
after
sure.
eating, then we're gonna
That
just
definitely.
go back to car and we'll
Exactly.
continue our interview. All right. We're gonna start our interview again. All right, Parvis. My next question: what is the biggest myth about getting a perfect SAT score?
The biggest myth, you should be genius. I think
Uh-huh.
that's the biggest myth. You should be something extraordinary. You should be studying 24/7. A lot of people think that not only is SAT 1600, anything outstanding in terms of academics or sports, people think that it's all about working a lot, and hell a lot. But that's not true. Because I personally didn't prepare much for that 1600. I was just teaching and doing the right thing, in the right time, in the right amount, but nothing more and nothing less, I think. So yeah, you shouldn't be genius. I think that I'm not actually, and I'm probably not the smartest person even in the car right now. So yeah, but you can
That's
still,
true because
yeah.
there's me, right?
Just because he's behind the wheel, I should say that, otherwise you might end up not reaching our destination, right? Okay. So yeah.
So, did you allocate any extra time for preparation, or is it only teaching classes?
Well, actually, it comes down to the fact that homework that I used to assign to my students didn't have the answers, didn't have the answer keys. So before the classes, I had to be ready for the session by doing the homework first myself, preparing the keys. So in that prep of preparing homework keys, that was basically, I think, the most important part of my preparation. And I also emphasized the need for vocabulary. I myself used to learn the new words back as a teacher as well, because whenever I was doing the homework, whenever I come across bump into a new word, I used to write it down, and that helped me a lot. Plus, the teaching itself, I got to go over the tough questions twice more, 3 times more, and analyze it. And each time I analyzed those tough questions, I used to understand them from a slightly nuanced, slightly different perspective. I think that helped me.
I see. All right. So, if you had only an hour every day to prepare, how would you do it?
For the SAT,
Yes.
so if I had an hour every day, I still have around 7 hours a week, right? So I would spend 4 hours, 4 days on English preparation and 3 days on math. Now let's get into the specifics. So if I'm doing 4 days English, I would divide it into 3 days of reading focused basically days and 1 day grammar focused. And for my reading focused days, I would divide it into further 3 sections. Section 1 is SAT focused prep. So within that hour, 30 minutes, I would do one full module, not the full section, but full module of the SAT reading, like it's around 20 questions, and do it, analyze, learn the new words. So that would be it. And with the second reading day, I would pick a book, like a novel, or a short story or memoir, wherever it is, and start reading it an hour. So once a week I'm reading it an hour, picking up the new. I would read only 40 minutes, and the other 20, the rest, I would focus on vocab probably. So you see, I'm allocating extra time for vocab on every single day. And the third day, I would either do one more module of the reading, 20 more questions, and then analyze them, or I would read an article this time, not a short story, not a novel, but a scientific article, a couple of scientific articles, would write short summaries on them, and pretty much it. Was the grammar based day, I would go over some workbooks, grammar workbooks, cover a couple of units within 40 minutes, and implement it into the real life beyond the SAT. So if, let's say, 20 minutes I capture the concept, learn the certain grammatical concept, 20 minutes I practice it in the SAT context, and 20 more minutes I practice it beyond the SAT by creating new sentences, like using them in my speech, so practical application of the concept that I just learned. And with the math days, 3 days, I would basically, one day would go into theory learning, theory consolidation. I would pick a topic and memorize it. The other day I would practice it fully, and the third day I would analyze my mistakes and go over the parts of the theory that I got wrong or missed.
I see.
So that would be my weekly plan, which I should have sold for like $1,000 probably, right?
Students take notes.
Sharing it for free.
Yeah. Do you think sometimes it gets overwhelmed?
Like
and you
what?
get tired of everything, teaching and trap.
Well, I think it's because of a routine nature of the work we do, and it's not only specific to teaching. Wherever you do, sometimes on my way to work, you know what I feel? I feel like the taxi driver lives much a happier life than I do. Just because he gets to drive, he gets to go to different locations, but I have to be in the same place at the same time and teach the same content. Even though I get to teach different people, I get to teach different basically personalities, I usually teach the same content. Each time, of course, in a slightly different way, from a slightly different perspective, but 90% the classes I teach are the same, because Group A is the same classes as Group B does. The program is structured the same way, similarly. So yeah, I do get overwhelmed. I think like I'm in a rut. My life never changes, no excitement. But I guess the taxi driver feels the same way. He also feels like he should have been an SAT teacher, not driving a taxi. So yeah.
If it gets overwhelmed, do you have any guilty pleasure or distractions?
Gym is my distraction actually. Yeah. Whenever I get bored of work, studies, whatever I do regularly, I hit the gym.
But your door is open.
And the gym is usually something that really helps me. So something that really helps me to get distracted in a good way, have diversions, and it's a really good time to reflect. In the gym, when you're working out, you're not talking, you're not mentally engaged. Your brain, your mind is not occupied. That gives me some room to put together all my thoughts, pull them together, and focus on the emerging problems. So usually the best ideas that I have, they come during a gym session, because that gives me a lot of space to think and to have a talk with myself. So yeah.
If you could describe SAT and IELTS in 3 emojis, what would they be?
Both of them together, 3, right?
Or you can describe SAT in 3 emojis and
So
IELTS.
SAT is 3 emojis. First one is the guy on the laptop. You've seen that emoji,
working,
just because blue, you take the SAT on Blue Book. On the laptop there is no other option, or iPad on an electronic device, in short. So that's the first one. And the emoji with a headache, crushing head, especially if you're new to it. You feel like you're not progressing. You feel a super headache. You feel like you should quit. You're in the wrong way. But I felt the same way. Like when I started SAT, I felt like I'm in the wrong way, and I felt like it's not something that I should be doing. SAT is not my thing. That was the realization. But that's false, guys. That's a false impression everyone gets. So yeah, and the third final emoji would be
Vomiting.
vomiting. No, not really. It's not to that extent bad. I think that would be thunder. Thunder, because it's also exciting, enlightening, just like the thunder is. It enlightens you. You get to learn a lot of new things, like in terms of math and in terms of reading. When you're reading different articles, different passages, you get to actually implement it in real life. Like a lot of things that I learned about human nature. We go straight.
Yeah.
About human nature, or things like that. It comes from SAT. So yeah, regarding implementation of those ideas, I can give you one example. Back in the day when I took my last IELTS attempt, task 2 was about the news, and I remember writing one paragraph idea about and news finds me at FM. This is the concept. There is the concept of news finds me. It talks about we no longer have to look for the news. We no longer have to actively search for it, because news is actually searching for us. I remember writing down that idea in one of my paragraphs there. So IELTS and SAT are in some ways interconnected. So most of the emojis, like the head crushing and thunder, would be the same. But I would take down the laptop guy, because even though you can take CD IELTS, it's mainly still on paper for most students. So that would be person talking emoji, because during the IELTS sessions, a lot of introverted students open up, they start talking, especially speaking, writing, workshops, when you get to discuss different ideas. All those kids over the year or over several months are transformed. You basically see them changing. They do change. Like they become shy, introverted, socially basically. So how do you describe it? Socially isolated maybe. But over the course of the program, they open up. So they start talking, embracing each other. So they're no longer shy. They're no longer hiding away. So yeah, the only one emoji changes. So these 4 emojis, they of course off the top of my head. And everyone's experience is different. So you might change.
Sure. All right. Right now we're heading to the gym. We're gonna work out and continue our interview there.
Sure then.
Yeah. Right. Oh,
So we are doing legs or back?
let's do legs.
Let's do back.
Okay, sure.
So the audience likes it. I
Today-
feel them.
Today's trainer will be Parvis.
Sure then, we're doing back.
We're gonna show you a master class on how to do back.
They have big ones.
So what are we doing?
So we'll start with rows.
Rows. Let's do rows.
Ideally, I do vertical rows first, but since the equipment is basically occupied, we'll start with horizontal ones. But let's warm up first.
Sure.
Let's warm up joints.
Sure. I trained back 2 days ago, so
I did it a day ago.
probably
Day
not
before
gonna lift
yesterday.
as heavy as Parvis. We'll see about that.
But that's not an excuse, buddy. I did it on Friday too. Was it Friday?
2 days ago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did it on Friday too.
Let's do legs then.
No need, no. Legs are demanding. Okay, let's get started. Let me change the handle. So we're doing one hand at a time.
Sure. All right, Parvis. Who was your biggest supporter and how did they cheer you on?
My girlfriend. Kidding.
Okay. After breakup, you had tons of motivation, right? To train, to study.
Typical stereotype, right? Breakups fuel you. No, not really. To be honest, my biggest support was my dad, I think, both financially and mentally. You don't believe me, but we had night talk sessions probably 3, 4 times a week
Mhm.
where he would preach me on importance of working hard, not stopping, and not celebrating my achievements too much, because celebration is bad.
Yeah.
Okay, now your turn. Let me ask you questions now.
What's the most unusual or funny reaction you got after sharing your score?
Well, some people thought that I cheated.
Uh-huh.
I got the answers beforehand or something like that. I had the leaks, so I had to fight over that and prove it to the public that actually I didn't. Because the most important thing is the public trust. People should trust you, because my job is, I'm not a student, I'm a teacher. I teach kids. And that was really unprofessional on their side that they picked me as their victim, because that would be really fluffy, that would really be hyped, and that was my first attempt and I got 1600. Like all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just like a mushroom coming out and getting 1600. But I was there in this line, in this field for some time already, and took the exam twice before. Both of them were equally decent, 1560s and 1540s, before getting that 1600. So it didn't really work. I never found out who spread this news, who was there right inside the thing, but I found some details and some evidence to fight back and prove the scammers wrong. So, but that basically took away some happiness I had.
I see.
That was like their way of saying don't party too much.
And someone created fake account
Exactly,
of
and
yours
started selling
and
leaks.
yeah. Was it your?
Not really. Otherwise, that account would be still working.
My next question, Parvis. If you weren't teaching right now, if you weren't studying right now, what would you be doing?
Not teaching, not studying.
Uh-huh.
I'll be doing Yandex, just like everyone else.
Taxi
Kidding. I would probably be a gym coach.
Mhm.
That's something that I have actually in mind. Like after gaining a bit of experience and professional, basically experience, I might actually do it part time as well because it's fun and I really like it. I feel like it's work, so I might be doing that. I probably would do this because I excel in the gym. It's really easy for me to gain, just like I usually lose over a long
Yeah,
period,
yeah,
and then
that's what happens when you use gear.
yeah, and then I gain quite fast. Like 2, 3 weeks, I'm back. The king is back, right? So yeah, I would probably be doing that. I don't know. I've never thought of it, but I think highly likely I would be doing the gym thing.
All right, what's next for you then?
Next for me,
Yeah, what are your plans right now?
so I'm currently enrolled at New York University in Abu Dhabi campus of the New York University. So hopefully in August I will be departing to the campus. 4 years of bachelor's degree education awaits. So yeah, but in the meantime, I will highly likely be teaching online.
Hmm.
Of course, not that large scale, but still there are gonna be some students who I will be teaching part time.
So you're not closing your school, right?
Well, I would say we're switching to online mode. So yeah.
This guy got big and stronger.
We haven't stopped. Recording?
Yeah.
One. That's the power of being married.
Guys, I got my revenge.